Hello everyone and welcome to Pod Hits Us All episode 3. My name is Alex.
My name is Nick.
And my name is John.
Today we're going to talk to you about the festival lineups for 2020 and the state of those at the moment. We'll have a little chat about Chelsea Wolfe and a very special album anniversary of Metallica's S&M. Cool, let's get going. New music, Blood Incantation, Hidden History of the Human Race. I am absolutely in love with this album.
Same.
It's only 4 tracks long. All of them are amazing.
How long is it? It's like 40 minutes though, right?
40, 45.
Something like that.
That last track could have been split out into a few tracks.
Yeah, it could have.
It's
It's like 18
self-indulgent,
minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit self-indulgent. But I fucking love this album. It's so good.
They released 2 tracks beforehand, tracks
Yeah.
1 and 3.
Yeah.
And I heard those and thought, oh, this is amazing. I was like absolutely over the moon.
But they're sort of the most kind of, not straightforward, but,
Yeah.
you know, less experimental, I'd say.
Yeah. Track 3 I think is one of the best death metal songs of the year.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I first heard those 2 tracks they put out before, I thought, okay, this is kind of meat and potatoes death metal, but it's not at all. I think once you start listening to it more, it's so much more than that.
And we all read this Pitchfork article
Yeah.
today, which actually told us a little bit more about how they recorded it. So it was done analog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Yes. So all this made me love the album even more because actually when I was listening to track 1 on the album, I was listening to it and I was thinking, they're not playing to click, are they? Some of it sounds like not sloppy, but I could feel like some like little time changes and stuff like that. And there's a bit where like one of the main riffs comes in and then the drums comes in and it almost like slows down a little bit. That's cool though, because like, it just shows that they're just like all in the room together playing, recording it analog, not doing too much like post-production mixing and all that.
And it
stuff.
sounds better for it.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I'm kind of not sick of, but like it's nice to not hear everything like, you know, to the click.
Like mechanically.
Yeah. And
'Cause
everything just
I feel like
sounding-
I'm really switching off from metal like that sometimes. Like if I put on a death metal album and it's like fully triggered, it's as you say, done to click, really mechanical, genty sounding. I'm just a bit like, this is technically good. It's kind of fun to listen to, but is there anything like that emotive about it? And what's really good about this album is that a lot of lead guitars in it are like super emotive.
Yeah.
It feels
like,
rawer.
It feels a lot rawer. There's more progression throughout all the tracks. Like I think we're going to talk about Tomb Mold in a bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like an album where I would say like it's death metal, it's fun, but it's kind of one-dimensional a little bit. Where these guys like there's such progression throughout all the tracks.
I'd say there's...
We're coming back to that.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
we'll come back to
We'll
that.
come back to that.
So when we're saying it's recorded analog, that's like they do it all onto tape.
All to tape.
Yeah.
And then
that-
they can't fuck it up. So this is like
Yeah.
80s, like when Morbid Angel, Authors of Madness
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
I imagine it probably
recording.
costs a fuckload to record like that as well.
Yeah.
Unless you kind of get it done quickly.
Yeah.
Like one take.
Which probably they did actually. They're clearly like really technically
Yeah.
proficient in what they're doing. But yeah, it's just I don't know. There's something about them that is just so different to like other death metal I'm hearing at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's why stuff like Pitchfork and that sort of press are picking up on it, which is quite interesting because
They are getting a lot of hype.
they're getting a lot
yeah,
of
like
hype.
obviously like those sorts of like press do talk about heavy music and stuff, but I think it takes something more from the band for them to like really pick up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't actually read the lyrics yet.
I
I
haven't
know there's a whole sci-fi Ishland, but I've
Yeah.
only noticed that from the artwork, which
Yeah.
is unbelievably fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
that looks
good.
wicked.
So
Yeah.
good.
And
And
who was the guy? Bruce Pennington?
Yeah, that's
They
it.
took it from.
So he's a famous artist, right?
Yeah, like I think he's English.
Right.
Sci-fi artist, like 70s, 80s, like top
Yeah.
guy.
What that Pitchfork article also said was about how track 3, which is called In a Path to Outer Space,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I know
they
so.
recorded, improvised, and on psychedelics,
Yeah.
which is fucking
It's
amazing.
not something you. It's not something you.
You'd associate
with the death metal.
with a death
band.
metal band,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, what, as in they were out of their brains?
Out of their minds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
incredible.
says on psychedelics, which I'm assuming means they were LSD to their tits.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
I hope so.
A lot of respect for that.
But yeah, absolutely fantastic album.
Yeah. I think it's deserved of all the hype.
Yeah.
There's definitely
For
something
sure.
there's definitely something different about them that I'm not hearing in other death metal bands, and I just keep going back to it constantly. The production on it is so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Because it's interesting you're saying that, because when we've been doing our album of the year deliberations over this last couple of days, the last weeks, there's an album on our list was Elegion, Apoptosis or something
Yeah.
it's called. It's really, really good. And I've listened to it about 3 or 4 times through and loved it. but something about it just wasn't grabbing me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't put my finger on it. It's because it's too polished.
Yeah, it's too mechanical.
Yeah.
100%. This morning, when I got on the train to work, I listened to Blood Incantation, and then I put on Allegaon, or however you pronounce their name, and I was just like, I'm not interested in this at
Yeah.
all. Like, it's like they're obviously like amazing musicians, and this is good metal, but it's just straight back to Blood
the thing is,
Incantation immediately.
That's how I feel with like Periphery and stuff like that.
Oh, same.
Yeah,
Same, yeah.
I can't
I mean-
get into those sorts of bands. Like they write like some like amazing melodies.
They're
those, like,
incredible,
Jenny bands,
but
like Tesseract.
yeah,
all those sorts
exactly.
of bands. They're really, really good, interesting, talented. But it doesn't grab me in a way that like this does.
Yeah.
And that's. I think I don't know if it's just in the production or if it's obviously in the
There's
songwriting
more-
as well.
yeah,
but
there's
it's
more
the
to
whole
it.
package, really. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about that kind of Egyptian moment on track 2?
Gives the power part. Then it starts blast beating over a clean bit, and that makes total sense that he did that now because they recorded that
Because he was high.
because he was high, presumably, they were recording it to tape. So I reckon a lot of it was jammed and improvised, and he was just like, "Fuck it,
What the fuck should I do now?
I'm blasting over this clean bit." But it's something about it that works. It's just,
Yeah, it does work.
yeah,
It does work.
it's a lot of respect for that. I think this is. I would recommend this over like most other metal albums this year to anyone.
This has made it very. I'm not revealing anything, but it's made it very difficult for my album of the year picks. 'Cause I'm like,
100%.
I've
Is it,
loved
is it,
this.
is it in your top 3?
I'm not telling you anything.
Well, just a little hint.
I can't tell you
A
anything.
yes or a no.
Shit.
I reckon it'll be in my top 5.
I think it's in my top 5, but not top
Yeah.
I mean, mine goes Rammstein, Blood Incantation, Rammstein, and
Korn.
Korn.
Rammstein.
There you go. So cool. Blood Incantation, get it in your ears at the moment. It's really, really good. We've got yet another Aussie track to talk about. I mean,
I'm just laughing instantly at the lyric.
I'll make
You defecate. So I was reading today. This song's about addiction.
Oh, okay.
If you listen to lyrics, it kind of really makes sense. But there's a bit in it
That's now
where
that just changes that lyric to be way more depressing.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
I thought it was about him being like really evil and he's going to like make someone.
I wish it was that obvious, but no, it's not. But it made me laugh because that bit you were just singing where he starts laughing. It's funny because at the end of Master of Puppets, which is also about addiction, do you remember at the end, James Hetfield does that evil laugh.
laughing, yeah.
Yeah.
But that
Maybe-
sounds cool.
That sounds cool. This just
This is
sounded,
just like,
but it's a fun track. Like I think we were saying in the last episode, I'm not really a fan of Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne,
Yeah.
but this is like a good fun metal song.
I've gone back
I
to
can't
it a few
deny it.
times.
When it comes on, I'm just like,
it's kinda
yeah, this is
catchy.
fun.
It's kind of catchy. I enjoyed it.
He does the Sabbath fan service. You're talking about.
Yeah,
"All right
yeah.
now."
And then I was fully expecting the next line to obviously follow, but it didn't.
I'm loving those like like the kind of jazz hands, like vocals, like those bits in it.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's fun. I've listened to it a few times. It's not going to make me a fan of Ozzy Osbourne by any stretch, but
So Slash is on guitar for this.
Right.
I don't know if he does the whole song or just like the solo, but
Probably just the solo, I imagine.
Yeah?
I
imagine he's
I
got-
assume.
because in the articles about it, it was like, oh, Slash and Ozzy go head to head, but if it's just for the solo, it's kind of dumb. But I don't know. They could be doing both things. They could just be doing that. But if it is Slash the whole way through, you've got it sounds super Zakk Wylde.
Yeah,
The
start,
whole riff
start
is so
was-
Zakk Wylde. I was just
Yeah.
like, what's the point in not doing it with Zakk Wylde? Because it's Ozzy and Zakk are kind of
Yeah.
like a thing hand in
Yeah.
hand. Why not do it together and get Slash in to play a solo?
Don't know. Maybe he's over it.
Maybe he's over it. I don't blame him, but yeah. But yeah, massively preferred Under the Graveyard. IMO.
yeah, I think they're both pretty good to be honest.
I can't.
Change the tune.
Yeah, I don't know. I've gone back to that. Is it Back to the Graveyard?
Under the Graveyard.
Under the Graveyard. It's better than what I first thought it was. But this track, I'm like genuinely.
They're just
Yeah, I
they're
can
just
enjoy this.
catchy. Like
Yeah,
They are
they're
really
just catchy.
catchy,
Heavy
if it
rock
came on
songs,
in
aren't
like
they?
In a nightclub.
in
yeah.
a nightclub.
Drinking some
in a rock
WKDs.
bar.
Yeah, I'd probably be throwing my fists. But,
I'll make you defecate. Windmill.
no, I mean like fist pumping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not windmilling. Anyway,
Anyway, enough about Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
He's had too much of our time. The last one on our list for new music is Nick. I don't know if you actually listened to this or not. Aggressive Perfector.
I did listen to this.
What did you think about it?
I enjoy it. It's fun. I can't really say much more about it than that. I mean,
I listened to
it's
it-
got the whole kind of old school feel. It's good riffs, it's catchy. I imagine, just like we were just saying, if it came on like in a rock bar,
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah,
You'd nod to
after a
it.
few beers. I'd
But
have a nod.
otherwise, you don't go back to it.
Otherwise, I don't go back to it.
I
But
feel the same.
Oh, really?
so, what
Okay.
about their sound like really interests you? Because it's obviously super throwback.
This
I
is
could listen to a million bands that have done that, but you could also apply that logic to a lot of things that I like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, I don't know.
Aggressive Perfector. The album is called Havoc at the Midnight Hour. I really like him because like King Diamond he's done a lot of stuff since them and Abigail that hasn't really cut it as far as that has. But I was listening to this and thinking, I saw it on Crypt of the Wizard's Instagram page, and I thought, wow, I wish New King Diamond sounded as good as this did,
Right.
because it's so good and it's really fun. And like, I think the song's called Turbo Evil, number 3. So fun, so good. I actually found myself skipping back and listening to that a bunch of times.
Right.
It's a really fun album, and the artwork's really cool. It looks like an old horror
It's
movie.
cool, yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I can't say, oh yeah, I can see like it would be everyone's cup of tea, but you're so nail on the head with the it's a throwback album
Yeah.
thing. And I'm worried that quite a few of the albums that I've really liked this year have been essentially throwback.
But that's
albums.
okay.
Like,
That's
That's
fine.
fine.
That's fine. I mean, there's always going to be a market for this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, always. That kind of throwback 80s, kind of reverby vocals,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. There'll always be room for it. But
Because it was so good. That's the thing. Like,
I mean,
if it wasn't, then they wouldn't.
so are they an old band or a new band?
they're new bit. So they had
Okay.
2016. They had Satan's Heavy Metal came out in 2016.
It's a good name.
It literally sounds like that high school mates band from a high school teen.
Yeah, but it's a bit
rom-com.
more. I don't know. I dig it. I think there's a bit more to it.
It's a cool name. Cool. So we're going to talk to you now about 2020 festival lineups and what they're looking like at the moment. Hellfest got announced this week. Some huge names on it. I find that most of the festivals in Europe always just have the same bands headlining, just in different countries.
Yeah, it's just the bands on the promo cycle.
Just do the
isn't it?
swapsies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll swap your Kiss for Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Shit,
But
man.
no, I think like the topic of these festival lineups is the lack of new bands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's always
well,
the thing, isn't it?
well,
No, you look at the download lineup and
It's all bands from 20 years ago.
It could literally be 20 years
So
ago.
the only band in big letters, or I think as you can tell from festival lineups, like the ones that have their logos on,
Yeah.
which are like the biggest ones, are Gojira. The only band of the last, like who've got bigger the last 5 years or so, are Gojira,
Who are amazing.
who are amazing, and they deserve to be there. But every single other band is from
why
like,
are Korn,
the
why
90s.
are Korn still like? Why are they so? Why are they still around?
Why are they existing?
I did give their new album a listen and I got so bored. Something about, I'm going to take you motherfucker down or something like that. And I just thought, I've seen
Why?
Jonathan Davis recently. You're not going to take anything down.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
You're not even taking anything down the shops, let alone. It was just ridiculous.
Do you know what makes me? I'm a huge Core fan, and they were one of the first big bands that I ever loved. However,
Up to Issues. Cool.
Yeah.
oh come on, Untouchables was great.
Never listened to it.
Oh, get out.
Really?
Get
Is it
out.
good? Should I-
Untouchables is amazing.
Would I still look? Because if I put on Issues now,
What?
I'm
No,
like,
but
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't like it now. Just no.
Instant no.
Just stop.
what about the Skrillex dubstep album?
Oh.
that sounds bad already. Why would you do that?
No, I'm joking. I don't know that era Korn. But just we'll come back to festival lineups in a minute. But one thing about Korn that got me kind of not back into them recently, but made me take notice of the new album was Jonathan Davis done an interview, a live interview in front of an audience with the Kerrang editor. I think it's Alex Baker. And it was like a really in-depth, interesting interview. And he's gone through obviously a lot of shit. And he was talking about his family and what it's like to be like a band of their type, like in this day and age. It's really, really interesting. And I don't know, because it was such a good interview, I don't know if it made me think like kinder of their music than it actually is. But I went listening to that new album. But I think it's just because I'd watched that interview, which was kind of quite heartwarming, and like it was him being really honest and everything. And I thought, right, I'm going to go give the new album a listen. I listened to it. I was like, oh, this is pretty good actually. But
All the way through?
I couldn't get through the whole thing, and that
Yeah.
probably says a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as terrible as you're making out, though.
It is terrible.
Ah.
No,
But
it's really bad.
But Korn
I
are one of
don't
those
like it.
bands that when they're not doing the dubstep Skrillex stuff, they're probably trying to recreate the sound of like what they used to be and what fans really want and stuff, because they haven't deviated too much from that. But it's one of those things that bands try to recreate their past and it's never quite as good.
Yeah.
Well, there was a time and a place for it,
Yeah.
and I think, I mean, as much as you love new metal is dead.
Oh, it's dead.
Yeah. So I think for them to come out with a new album that is just the new metal album is a bit.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's a whole thing in that because there's a load of new metal bands that survived. So System of a Down are one of the three big names.
Yeah,
in
but
there.
the thing
wouldn't
about
call them
System,
new metal,
no,
though.
but the thing about System of a Down is they have not released. They're what I call money making band.
Yeah.
They've not released any new music since what? Steal This album? Or the one after that?
Maybe.
Which is like in the mid
Is it
noughties.
Mesmerize or something?
Mesmerize.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I'm not sure if they've done any music since.
It's been a
then,
while.
but Anyway,
been a while.
they've not recorded. Nice.
They're on it, aren't they?
Oh, they probably are playing.
Stained?
Stained.
They're
Oh,
not on there.
Disturbed.
Bloodstained.
But they've not recorded anything new since like the noughties.
Disturbed. Oh
So-
fuck! I just saw that.
Oh, yeah, Disturbed are huge. But why is System of a Down still headlining festivals when they're not releasing any new music?
Because there's still a demand for people to see them
Yeah. But do they not have any sense of like, guys, we should probably like, instead of just kind of
touring.
taking
Not
the
even
cash
touring,
and
just
tour-
doing
they're
because
not
They're going to be
doing
getting the
tour.
same money as Kiss, Iron Maiden, or Kiss and Iron Maiden is all you need to say. They must be on ridiculous money to play those
Yeah.
headline slots. System must be getting a huge paycheck for that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because they also go into hibernation for 5 years, and then when they actually come back and say, "Oh, we want to play it," that's actually quite cool.
Yeah.
I've got some friends who go to download every single year,
Yeah.
and before the lineup got announced, they'll say, "Oh, it's been a few years, so it's probably going to be Maiden this year. It'd be really cool if System of a Down did it," and actually predicted pretty much
You
the
can-
lineup
you can
because
easily-
they
Can,
regurgitate the same
You just got
bands
to
all
look
the
at.
time.
You literally got to look at the last year's lineup, and you just know what's
Yeah.
going to be on this year's.
Yeah.
Interesting if you look at metal and like its popularity, where so like nowadays probably urban music is probably the most popular music
Yeah.
worldwide. Whereas like in the mid noughties, metal wasn't, but it was a lot more in the mainstream than what it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what is it about bands like Gojira that are putting them into that upper tier when like no other bands can seemingly get into that kind of level that those other bands are? Is that down to metal not really kind of piercing through into the mainstream?
I feel that there's a thing with metal bands that if you're good and you plug away at it enough, you end up getting respect in the scene. And people...
But respect is one thing, but being
good-
being high up on a festival lineup where the organisers like counting on you to sell tickets is another thing.
But Gojira's been a band since we were all in bands, like years
Yeah,
and years
they
ago.
yeah, but
They're quite commercial now in a way.
they-
Like they
yeah,
they're
they,
still
they've got more,
heavy.
yeah, but there's
They
loads
are,
of
but-
commercial metal bands that would never get to where kind of Gojira are on like a downer.
like August said, they've been going for what 20 years.
Something like that. Like they've been around for
But they were
ages.
like death metal at the start of Gojira, and then they kind of got more and more kind of commercials they went on.
But the sound is still really heavy and really
Yeah.
good. I mean, when you listen to their newest album, is it Magma?
Magma,
Yeah, really, really good, really heavy. Still has those things from sounds like Heaviest Object in the Universe or whatever the song is. And-
heaviest matter.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean, they've still got that crushing sound to them. They've treaded the line of commercial and heavy really, really well.
Yeah.
And I love that
Yeah,
about
that's
them.
true. That's
I-
true.
like,
we
I
saw
don't-
them live this year. I mean, how amazing is that? Live show
That's
as
one of
well?
my favourite shows of the year. That would be my
100%.
favourite show of the year if
That
I
was
hadn't seen
incredible.
Rammstein this year.
Confetti cannons.
They did have confetti.
They did
cannons.
have confetti
Yeah.
cannons.
But it wasn't cheesy though.
No.
No,
It didn't feel cheesy
there's
because they're
something
like
cool about it.
blowing your bollocks off with
Also,
like this riff, and then they're like confetti.
Oh.
we
I
were,
can- I can
we were
deal with
pissed
that.
as hell as well.
Yeah, I was
so
very drunk.
let's take that into account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's imagine Gojira weren't
eliminate
on that.
eliminate
So
Gojira,
you've got
and
Kiss,
there's
so on I assume that's Friday. You've
Yeah.
got Kiss,
Veil
Deftones,
Brides.
and Offspring.
don't say a bad word about Deftones because
Well, you-
I think they're worthy of being there because they still release
I'll
new
back
music.
you on that. I think they're
They're
great.
still doing
I wasn't
stuff.
going to say anything bad about
Okay.
them.
What a band!
Great band.
My favourite
Yeah,
band of
I
all
can't-
time. Actually.
Whoa, really?
Is it? Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Damn. More than Fries.
yeah.
Really?
They've outlasted everyone else that I've loved when I was younger, and that says a lot. I think.
Outlasted in terms of still playing, or are you still
No,
listening?
that I still listen to and like get really excited about when they put new music out.
Shit.
They're one of the only bands that I'll go and see like every time they're in London.
I've never seen them live.
What?
Oh, man.
Really?
Never, ever, ever. I've had tickets
Well,
twice.
you better go to
Didn't
Download
go.
Festival then.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
Downloadfestivaltickets.com.
But you like Kiss and Maiden, so this is actually up
This is a
yours.
very
Now
awkward
I-
lineup. This isn't it?
Now I've seen Kiss, I don't really care about seeing them ever again. I do enjoy them if they come on. I'll be like, oh, this is fun. But I don't know. They're also of that ilk of bands that have songs about sleeping with very young girls because it was from that time, and it's a little bit like, oh.
I mean, I never got into Kiss.
They've got some absolute bangers. They've got some really fucking good songs, but now I've seen them live. I'm like, cool, I've done that. It's like going to a circus once. You go to it once in your life, and then you never like, oh shit, circus is down this year. I'm gonna go see it. You know.
Yeah.
Maiden is a different beast. I go and see them anytime they play. I absolutely love them.
Do you know what? I watched a YouTube video of their live show.
Did you watch the Spitfire?
Just to see the Spitfire.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
And
Well, there was a fucking Spitfire.
and it was good, right?
Yeah, it was good.
I've seen the Spitfire before.
Bad. Then it goes away. Literally, first song came out.
Yeah,
it fucked off.
it was a
So
download.
young.
It was a download. I saw it about 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Or Reading,
there's
Reading
still-
on download. No, Sonisphere. It was Sonisphere we were at, wasn't it?
I think it might have been
Or
a different
not.
Spitfire.
Really?
The old one got sacked.
Okay, so let's just quickly talk about so if
So if Gojira weren't there,
Gojira went there, who is the next band that could possibly reach the levels of the others and be kind of headlining big major festivals every year? Avenged Sevenfold, they headlined Download one year. They're one of the bands that could do it.
Parkway Drive. They're headlining Wembley.
Really?
They're headlining Wembley at the moment.
they'd never headline
They doing Wembley?
Download.
They're doing Wembley.
Fair. They could get quite far up. Who is that? I'm not sure there's anyone else, really.
I'd love to see.
I'd love to see Bring Me the Horizon try to headline Download.
They're big enough.
They're big enough, but they would get a lot of piss bottles thrown at them.
Yeah, they
that's
would.
true.
100%.
Which is a shame,
We
'cause-
talk about Bring Me a lot on this podcast.
I think it's just Nick.
It's just me. I'm just a big
Yeah.
fanboy. But,
Why don't we jump
Killswitch.
onto another festival on it? Because you've got
Well, then look. What's this one here? Is that Hellfest?
Bloodstock. That's
Yeah.
also UK. So you've
Is
got
that
Judas
Bloodstock?
Priest.
Oh, that's Bloodstock.
See,
isn't
that's
it? Blood,
Priest-
Bloodstock's a different beast to download
Yeah,
though, because
it
Bloodstock's
is.
an independent
because
festival.
we used to go to Bloodstock quite a lot, didn't
Oh,
we?
we did. Yeah, I used to go every year with work. That was great fun.
The lineup to
Um,
that looks a lot more.
That's
appealing,
a really
right?
big lineup for Bloodstock, actually.
like Priest and Behemoth. Would be
Priest
good.
have got their 50th anniversary as a band, which is wow. Like 50 years of running around in leather pants and driving a motorbike on stage.
So
And,
I never listened to Priest before, but I really,
What?
as in
the
I've heard
loudest
them.
what?
I've heard them, but I'm not a Priest fan.
Oh my god, I love them so much.
The latest album, what's it called? Killing
The Christmas album.
Firepower.
No, not,
It's called Firepower.
Firepower is fucking good fun.
It's really,
It's-
mate, if
I-
you like
I-
that, check out Painkiller because
Yeah.
it is one of the best.
Painkiller's a classic, right?
Yeah.
From the 90s. And I've heard
So
that. I have
good.
heard that. I just
Have you seen the video?
For Painkiller?
Yeah.
No, I haven't actually.
If you want to have a seizure, slap that on.
That's what I'm looking for in my life.
It's unreal.
Have a seizure.
That album, honestly, that album's great,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's on Spotify. I've got it on CD, so it's not called Victims of Changes. What's it called? Sad Wings of Destiny
Okay.
is like their second album, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's their first. I don't know, but it's really, really good. Though that and Painkiller. If we were doing best
Yeah.
albums of all time, both of those would be.
What
in
about
there.
British Steel?
I don't love it as much as I love Painkiller, and I love.
Painkiller is great.
It's really.
Because I was in the same boat as you. I used to hate them.
Yeah.
Nick,
but then-
you got to get over the vocals because
then-
it's got those
No,
high vocals.
I'm not saying a bad word about Priest. I like them. It's just one of those bands where there's loads of bands like this where I just haven't taken the time to get into them.
Put Painkiller
That's
on
it, that's it, really.
on your way home.
Maiden, I know I'm not going to like,
Yeah.
and I've tried. Priest, I'm open, but you know, it's one of those things where like a band's got 20 albums. I'm like, oh,
Just do Painkiller.
can I be
Painkiller.
bothered?
Just do it on the way home. And,
Okay.
and
All
you'll
right.
be
That's my homework.
yeah.
Copenhagen gets King Diamond in his hometown with the original lineup of Merciful Fate doing like only their early stuff. So I think they're only doing Melissa and
See, that's cool.
that's really cool.
That's
I would
really
go
cool.
to Denmark for that.
I've never heard a
great name.
Merciful Fate song.
Really?
What are you doing?
If you like early Ghosts, you'll love
Yeah.
Merciful Fate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's literally
It's basically just
Fine.
But you've heard the Garage Inc. by Metallica, yeah?
Yeah.
They've got a song called Merciful Fate, which is just like 3 or 4 Merciful Fate songs like stuck together.
Oh no, I didn't realise that.
Yeah,
I know.
you skip that one.
I'll skip that one. Yeah.
just they're really good as well.
That's a great festival name, Copenhagen.
Copenhagen,
That's a good festival name. Yeah.
yeah, really good.
Great flyer too.
Cool.
I mean, I guess for these festival lineups, like the organisers know that these guys are going to sell tickets with their eyes closed. So
Yeah, it's true.
let's just keep booking
Well,
them.
you
I mean, like
then look at what happened to Sonosphere that year. Do you remember? And it just tanked.
the thing with Sonosphere.
Yeah, what happened there?
Sonosphere. That was quite a. Oh, it was wasn't it Queen with Adam Lambert?
Yeah.
And then it got pulled, and it was Kiss.
Was it
Was
Kiss,
it Kiss as well? It
It
was
a
someone
bad
like
lineup,
that.
Yeah.
It was someone
And
like that, and it got a lot of shit that lineup, and then the festival.
Apparently they
died,
couldn't
but-
get Portaloos as well. There was some reason. I remember those.
Hold on.
Imagine emailing Kiss's manager or Queen's manager. Guys, the festival's off. We can't find the Portaloos.
It's BYOT.
Yeah, BYOB. Surely bring your own bog. But I think that was more like emblematic of what was going on in festivals at the time, because I think around that era there was a lot of festivals, like non-metal festivals, that were dying on their ass because
Because there were so
Big-
many
big-
of them.
Yeah, because festivals got like people realizing and being noticed, they can make loads of money by putting on a festival, and then everyone started putting on festivals. And
Yeah.
then loads of festivals started shutting down because, like Sonosphere, because they couldn't get the ticket sales. And
But
I
Sonosphere
think
was still going in other countries.
Sonosphere was still going in other countries, but I know that Sonosphere ceased to exist because they couldn't coexist with Download, because Download's run by Live Nation.
Right.
And Live Nation have all the bucks.
Yeah.
So Sonosphere could not get the headliners that they wanted to because Download would get them all first and pay more money. So that's why Sonosphere died on its ass.
We're now going to talk about things that we've been listening to. I'm going to kick us off with Tomb Mold.
Great band name.
It was a great band name. One of the things I love about death metal is really ridiculous band names, insane splatty logos, really over the top, aggressively disgusting lyrics. I mean,
The artwork is wicked for that.
the
album
artwork
as well.
rules hard for Tomb Mold. So a bunch of guys from Toronto,
Toronto.
Planetary Clairvoyance. It's brilliant. It's
It's really good.
I know you were saying earlier that they're quite one-dimensional.
They are a little bit. I think that's a lot to do with the mix on this album as well. I think
quite-
The mixing's hard to
It's
kind
kind
of
of
get into. At the
everything's
start.
a bit like compressed.
Yeah.
I think.
So I found that with
taken-
There's not
they've
loads of
taken-
dynamic.
They've taken
in
the
it.
top end off a lot
Yeah.
in a big way.
Did you find that with Gate Creeper at all when you first put them on?
No.
They sound quite overdriven almost to me with some of the.
I think I said that when we spoke about Gate Creeper in the last episode. I was like, it's all a bit one-dimensional. There's just one guitar tone throughout.
For Tomb Mold,
No,
Also for
Gate
Great
Creeper.
Creeper,
Okay,
but that
yeah.
also applies to this as well a little bit.
I think Gate Creeper is better than this, but I have been listening to it constantly for like the last few.
I think it's different. Gate Creeper's a lot more straight up.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. It's
almost
a lot
bit more-
slower.
there's a bit-
It's less technical.
There's more
It's-
kind of hardcore bit.
yeah,
to
definitely.
It.
Yeah,
Do you know
there's
what I mean?
two-step bits. There's a bit
Yeah.
more kind of fists in the air, kind of beats and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Tomb Mold is riffy as fuck.
it's catchy.
Yeah,
It's
It
like
is
what
really
you were saying
catchy.
about Now the other day. Like they have catchy riffs. They're kind of slow. They're kind of slow paced, but fast. if
But
that makes
fast.
sense.
I think
Yeah.
that's a lot down to the drumming as well. I was listening to the
Yeah.
first track quite a lot. I think it's Beg for
Life.
Beg for Life. That's it. And they're playing like the same riff throughout quite a lot, but then the drummer's kind of playing around it quite a
Taking
lot.
different.
And there's
taking it.
bits where the drummer's just like playing, I don't know, like this kind of standard beat of it, and then he'll just randomly start double kicking over
Yeah,
the same beat and stuff
yeah.
like that. And that's a good vibe.
The thing with that song is that I found they do repeat quite a lot of the same riff, especially
Yeah.
towards the second half, which was a bit disappointing. Not disappointing, but once you've heard it for a few minutes, to hear it again for a few minutes is
Yeah.
a bit.
Accelerative Phenomena is, I think, the masterpiece of the album. It's so riffy. There's so many good bits in it.
Yeah.
They love it. They can do a big finish very well. They'll end on like
Yeah.
a big like da da.
They do quite a cool build up as well,
Yeah.
which is cool.
There's one track on there. I think it's track 2 or track 3. It's quite a kind of, it's kind of a Slipknotty bouncy riff. It's like a lot, like a lot of just like pull offs and stuff. It almost sounds a bit like Liberate
Yeah.
from Slipknot. or something. And I was listening to that, I was thinking,
I wish I was listening to Liberate.
that, but also I feel like this band could do a bit better than that.
Yeah,
Because some of the riffs are really fucking grimy.
that's exactly
really
what
dirty, sludgy, but kind of as you were saying, like
You feel
sludgy,
like
but
there's a few-
sludgy, but there's speed to it as well.
Yeah.
And then you hear those riffs, it's like
Yeah.
and it's
a
not
bit of a
that, but it's
letdown.
something like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, I feel like they're over the course of an album, they're not quite living up to how good they are.
it's
in
like
other
it's
parts,
like a
but
strong 6, weak 7 out of 10.
I'd say it's a definite
I'm
7.
bang on that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a definite 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man.
Let's leave Tomb Mold there
Yeah.
bye guys.
and go on to Druids.
Druids.
So they were a band that I kind of discovered just through like some lists,
Yeah.
top whatever. And then I checked out that song Iron Healer.
Is that the one you sent to me?
Yeah.
That
I
sounds
mean,
like
it's-
High Road by Mastodon.
It's like Mastodon Light.
Do you know what I was thinking? I was listening through to the album again this morning, and what's the album called? Monument. I feel like it's all the bits of Mastodon that make Mastodon great, but done simpler.
Yeah,
and there's
it
nothing
is.
wrong with that.
There's nothing. It's a good listen.
It's a really good listen, but I feel like they've got in a room and they've been like, "How would Mastodon do this?"
Yeah.
And they've done
or,
the same
or
thing.
Neuroses as well.
Or Neurosis, yeah.
Yeah.
But that said, like they're really, really, really solid. They're really talented musicians.
Yeah, don't
But
like.
there-
I
there's-
loved it, but
I've kind of lost interest. If we go to Mastodon a minute, I've kind of lost interest in Mastodon a little bit over the last album or two.
Oh,
Yeah.
Emperor of the Sand's
I-
so good.
Emperor Sand is great, but I just feel I feel like Druids has taken some of the best bits of their earlier stuff and doing that across a whole album, and that's
But-
actually really that's
it's
really good.
But do you know why I feel that they probably can't do the stuff that makes Mastodon, which is why it's kind of like Mastodon Light.
Yeah,
I mean, the drummer's obviously not as good.
Oh
No.
wow, that Mastodon drummer is
Yeah.
just
and he does sing singing as well. And
Yeah.
anyway, back to Druids.
Yeah.
it's really enjoyable over the course of an album. And actually, I've listened to the whole thing and I haven't got bored of it, and I've really liked it.
Yeah, it's good.
I just feel I can't get rid of that nagging feeling that they're just ripping off Mastodon.
Mastodon.
The
That's
thing
exactly
is-
that's exactly how I.
Is there something wrong with it when, as soon as you hear it, you're like, right, they fucking love Mastodon.
Literally within.
Within like the first fucking.
yeah, that- yeah, like, okay, this is Mastodon.
I mean, yeah, like High Road. The vocal phrase. It's not even just the riffs; it's the phrasing of the vocals.
Who wasn't Neurosis singer? Scott Kelly.
Scott Kelly.
He sounds so much like him.
He does, yeah.
Which is
He
also,
does.
and he's also on Mastodon's records. Like, there's so many
And been
links back to
guesting at
Mastodon.
loads of Mastodon shows recently. Well, the last tour he played like 5 songs
Well,
with them or something.
that Blondie show, it was just him doing. They just did the songs that he features on, because he features on every album,
Yeah.
every Mastodon album. So they just did those songs.
I love Scott
Yeah.
Kelly.
I mean, we could talk about Mastodon for a while, but we're here to talk about
Druids.
Druids. Yeah. But literally on my notes, I've put Mastodon and I've underlined it about 8 times.
But it's interesting to see where they go next, because if they're getting kind of big off this sound, will they just stick with it? Will they?
I think they'll experiment.
Well, will they show what they've got in their locker that
Yeah.
isn't just a hey, we love Mastodon, let's do something similar to those guys.
I
They
reckon
have
so.
to do more, or they will just be remembered as that band,
Exactly.
or forgotten as
Yeah.
that band that just sounded like Mastodon.
Exactly.
Like Still Remains, who just sounded like Kill Switch Engage and like stuff
Yeah,
like that. You
yeah.
know, it's like that's
Yeah.
pulling an
It's going back to
example
kind of
out
what we were saying before when we were talking about who was it? Was it Blind Incantation? We were
Well,
talking
you need to bring something new to the mix
Yeah.
to kind of.
you have to
stand
bring
out.
you have to bring something.
Did we-
If you're doing it's an aggressive perfector.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
they're
If
just
you're
the
if you're
throwback.
doing a sound well trodden, that's fine, but you have to do something that's going to make people stand up and take notice.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
But the difference that they were doing is they were doing throwback kind of,
yeah,
whereas really throwback.
Yeah.
it's not a throwback. No,
It's just heavily inspired by it.
And
But
it's
it's
a-
like so many bands.
it's a
come out
very
now that
current
sound like
sound.
Converge, and I'm guilty of ripping off a few Converge riffs. Do you know what I mean? It was just one of those bands.
who isn't? My mum's ripping off Converge riffs every day. You know?
Big June.
Big G's ripping off Converge. How dare she? Cool. Who's
June Doe.
June Doe.
June
Doe.
Doe.
Nice.
Hey.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
good.
I always spat beer out so I could make that joke as
That
quickly
is
as
good.
possible.
That is good. And on that note, let's move on. 'Cause
Cool.
It's not going to get better than that.
No. Should we end the podcast there?
What you got? Who's been listening to what? Chelsea Wolfe? Birth of a Violence.
Birth
or
of a Violence.
Birth of Violence.
Birth of
I think the
something.
best track on that one is Mother Road.
Is that the first
The
track?
first track.
Oh, yeah.
I thought so too.
Oh,
I
it's
had it
incredible.
stuck in my
I
head
sent
for
that to
days.
Leah, my wife, for all those listeners out there that want to know who Leah is. Because she likes a kind of Bjorky sounding, kind of not cinematic vocals, but quite epic vocals and stuff.
Yeah.
And like something quite dark. And I thought, like, for someone who's
What-
not a
It's not metal.
it's not
It's
metal
not
at all.
heavy at all.
No.
But then if you go back,
Oh, I don't know. It's heavy and it's not in a
it's heavy,
traditional
it's,
sense.
it's dark.
It's dark.
For
Yeah.
people listening to this, I think we should jump back because they might hear this and be like, "Who's Chelsea Wolfe?" Then go and listen to Chelsea Wolfe and think, "Why the fuck are they talking about her?" Because
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like
The new album is mostly acoustic.
Yeah.
guitars.
She's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone back to a folk sound, but the
Which was
album
the
before.
first 2 albums she wrote, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, go back one album. Was it His Spun?
His Spun. Oh,
that's-
that's a good album.
It's a great album.
It's produced by Kurt from Converge.
Kurt
yeah.
Ballou. Yeah.
Kurt Ballou.
It's
Someone from
interesting.
ISIS on it as well.
Aaron Turner,
Turner,
from
yeah.
ISIS
on
of Hydra Head
Vex.
fame.
Vex, the song I think is called.
Vex, yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
Like the track 1 on that starts kind of a doomy. It's kind of a bit boring, not gonna lie, but then fucking steps up again on track
Yeah.
2 and then carries
Mm.
on going. But yeah,
Yeah.
you listen to that record and it's fucking heavy, and then you put this one on, but it's dark,
It's
which is
dark.
what is really cool about it.
I feel like over the course of a whole album, it didn't keep me hooked.
Oh really?
I feel like Chelsea Wolfe's kind of acoustic-y, kind of heavy, kind of more emotive stuff is great, but I would love to see that mixed with some of her
Like
older
dronier,
stuff
heavier
and
stuff.
droner stuff with more like distortion and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
I really
That's a
like
fair
her, but I
point.
got really bored.
Really?
Yeah,
See, I
after the
love-
first-
I think you've
the
got to be in
first
the right
song-
mindset for it. I
Yeah,
think
It's
True.
good background music. The first song is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And that Mother Road.
So
the
catchy
ending
as
of
well.
Mother Road is it's like the ending of a movie. I can imagine like the protagonist walking off into the sunset.
Really miserable.
As that song plays out.
Scene.
Yeah.
Like
there's
Barney in this is like, "Don't cry for me, I'm already dead."
yeah, that.
I think that there was a track halfway through. I can't remember what it's called, Night something, but it had like some synth in it that was fucking wicked.
Yeah.
Proper like 80s kind of synth, horror movie kind of synth.
I got a lot of respect for her. I think she's kind of in that whole kind of doomy, droney scene.
Without being
without really being like a droney, doomy band, really.
Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting. I think she's really interesting. And I'd be interested to see what she could do going forward.
She's cut herself a niche where she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Which is really nice.
I don't think she's limited to the scene that she's kind of
No,
seen
she's
in.
not.
She could probably go and do anything she wants.
And she was great live because we saw her when 2013.
Yeah,
She was incredible.
she was. Yeah, her vocals live are just as good as they are on record.
Yeah, really good.
And when you're that good a vocalist, that's good.
Yeah.
I would quite like to see her live, actually. Now I think about
it's good.
listening to her.
And
I
we
think,
saw her around the era of Hiss Spun, is that correct? Or the album before that?
Before.
Right. Where she was doing kind of like a lot of distorted drony guitars with her
Yeah.
like amazing ethereal vocals.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's amazing.
But yeah,
Cool.
Huge. Chelsea Wolfe.
What's next?
Sun, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Sun. So this has been out a while.
Yeah.
Life Metal.
I have not
I
listened
like
to
that
it yet.
album.
Great,
man.
great album.
It's a great album, mate,
Yeah.
isn't it? The only song that really holds my interest is the first one.
Yeah.
Sleep Near's, I don't know how to say that word. Sleep Near's Breath or something like that. It's the first track on the album.
Is that the one that I put on the
That's the one you put on our playlist.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. It's got these weird kind of.
vocal in it?
But what's really cool about this song is that obviously Sun all about like tone and drone
Yeah.
and being as like heavy as possible.
Yeah.
And then on this song, you've got these vocals that sound like they're recorded on like the Notes app of the iPhone. It's like
I know what you mean.
It's so like in the front of the mix,
Yeah.
and there's like no effect on it. It's literally
But it works. It sounds weird, but
it's
it
cool,
works.
but it's just like I imagine Sun in this like live room in a studio with like
A million amps.
like 1300
And one
Marshall
phone.
stacks,
No,
and
they
then
use,
and
they use
they've-
the
and
Sun
they've-
amps, don't they?
Oh, they use the Sun amps, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Recording these like incredible drony guitars for like
Hold on, they
for
use
about
the Sun
2
amps,
weeks.
They have their own amp or something.
No, they're named after the amplifier.
And then
Oh,
after
I didn't
amplifier.
know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I imagine they're recording these guitars for about 2 weeks, and then like a couple of girls come in and just like record some vocals on the Notes app and just whack it on top of the mix. That's what it sounds like to me. But it's really cool.
Will this do?
Yeah,
chuck it on.
chuck it on last minute.
No, they're like, what?
But it's just it's an interesting approach to kind of droney metal to put that sort of vocal on it. But the rest of the tracks in the album are kind of meat and potatoes. Sun sounds
Well,
a bit harsh, but it
that's
kind of
it,
is. There's
isn't
not
it? That's the
loads
thing.
going on.
That's the thing.
And-
When I was coming to like make notes on this record, it was kind of like difficult to say what it is that's good. It just is.
Yeah, I mean,
That kind of puts it down.
That's
That's Sun's discography. Though, isn't it? That's, I don't know why this is good.
Yeah,
but it's really
like
good.
I can't say, at the 1 minute mark, this riff comes in that's like blows you away.
But
Because
what-
they don't do. That's not what it's.
what I would
about.
ask about Sun is, are they most effective as a live band rather than a band on record? Because I saw Sun
Yes
at
and
the
no.
Kentish Town Forum a long time ago.
Yeah,
One of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. It was the heaviest thing I've ever heard.
probably still got a ruptured bowel from it.
Probably have. And it's like a proper experience to see something
Yeah.
like that because it's
Well,
like,
I saw them at Barbican.
right.
And,
yeah.
And I had to wear earplugs.
Yeah, it's
mental.
it's like nothing
Wow.
else. It
Mental.
was more of an endurance test than something
really, is it?
something
Yeah,
from
it's
enjoyment because
that
it's
loud.
just bassy drone for about 2 hours and there's only so much of that. So on record, you're
There's
just
costume
hit-
changes.
Oh, there is.
There's costume changes.
The lead vocalist guy, I'm not even sure what you would call him, came out dressed as a tree. Legend. Came out dressed as a tree where he was in his outfit and then he had.
Is this to do with the whole life metal thing? Is this in like?
No, this was a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
This
a
was
bit-
like 10, 12
He's
years
old
ago,
school,
wasn't
being
it?
a tree and talking about life and stuff.
Yeah, and he just came out and he like one of his arms was like a big tree branch, and he was just making really weird
avant-garde
sounds.
doom.
Super avant-garde doom. But it's like an experience to see that live
Yeah.
because it's like that's like nothing else that you see in anyone else. But then you listen to that sort of stuff on record.
And it can lose the effect.
It can lose the
Yeah.
effect. But I'm only talking about that in relation to the new album. I went back and listened to some old Sun stuff. I listened to the album they did with Boris.
Yeah.
which was they done a song called Sinking Bell or something. It had these like kind of really weird vocals. Like there was a lot more.
Is that with all the scratching
that's
sounds
good
and the
for it.
rope tightening noises in it?
I'm not sure.
But
It
that's
might
good.
be-
Boris bring that to the table though.
Yeah,
That-
but that was taking like the core essence of Sun and making it really interesting. Whereas apart from the first track on Life Metal, I feel like it's just drony distortion and not much else.
You'd have to be in a kind of right frame of mind to listen to it.
Right.
I also put that it could literally be taken out of that film Mandy,
Oh yeah,
like the soundtrack. What's his name? Johan Johannesburg or
Someone was
something.
talking to me about that film.
That's a great name.
I've not seen it.
it's
Man,
amazing.
So good.
It's the
Like,
most metal film you can imagine without being anything directly metal linked, other than
Right.
the Mandy, like the logo turns
black
into like
metal.
a scratchy
But,
black
no,
metal.
but there's a
logo.
lot of metal references in the film. Like she's wearing like some Black Sabbath shirt.
Yeah, there's like loads of like drony doom music
Yeah.
over the top.
Right.
It's really cool.
It literally sounds like Sun have made the soundtrack for it.
Right.
You should watch. It's like it's more visual than story based.
Okay.
But it's,
So watch it.
it's an enjoyable. If you like metal, it's like a really good film.
Yeah.
You won't be bored at any point.
Right.
And there's a
and
bit in it,
it's Nick Cage being Nick Cage.
Right.
like double mental Nick Cage.
Yeah.
So moving on to the big topic of this week. It is the 20th anniversary of Metallica's S&M.
I've been looking forward to this.
Came out November 23rd, 1999. I remember being at school and this being the CDs that were kind of passed around.
Right.
My friends were like, you would get past Master of Puppets one week, and then someone would be like, "Oh, sounds like I got a copy of S&M because it was double CD. It was way more expensive." And it's like, then
Yeah.
you'd get, you'd be like, "Oh," and it is just beginning to end, regardless of metal. It's got to be one of the best live albums ever made.
Definitely.
It's crazy.
It's
The production on it is insane.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think where do we start with this? Because
Well,
you know,
that's
I mean, we could talk about what our favorite songs are from it. I think what's most interesting is like what if you go back to that era, the late 90s, like what did this mean for metal? Because to take one of the biggest metal bands in the world and put them with an orchestra was something that hadn't been done before.
No.
But
And
Kiss,
like, what
Kiss did Kiss Symphony, which I've
Yeah,
never heard.
but
they're
is
not
it-
metal.
Yeah,
though,
but
are
Kiss
they?
is just a
Yeah.
novelty band. They're not
Yeah.
like a quote unquote serious metal band, although
Yeah, I
you
guess,
could
yeah.
question that with Metallica a lot over the years, whether they are serious or not.
They are.
With some, yeah, I mean they are, but you know they've taken some,
Table. I am the table.
they've taken some questionable missteps, but that's fair enough.
But they've styled it
but-
out,
Yeah, they have sold it out.
I mean, they're still here. They're still
they're
rocking.
still here.
and they're still great. The new album's really good.
Yeah, Hardwired is a very good album.
There's one or two
Um,
tracks that I really don't like, but it's
of course,
really good.
that's expected with a new
Yeah.
Metallica album, I think. But it's just really interesting, like in that kind of era when in the late 90s, new metal was getting really big. That's when metal was really coming into the mainstream. And then Metallica just came out with this unbelievable thing, like this collaboration between metal and classical, which had never really been done before.
Masterpiece. It's done
And,
well
like,
as well. It's not just
and
a
it's done
gimmick.
well.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
the orchestral parts are so well thought out. And
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
the arrangement is just next level. Really.
I wonder like who first came up with the idea of doing this.
So I've got that story for you.
Go tell me.
So I watched Classic Albums, the show on Sky Arts. I think they've just grabbed it from the VHS
Right.
or whatever. But it's Metallica talking about the Black Album, and they get onto Nothing Else Matters. And Michael Kamen, the guy who does the conducting and all the compositions for S&M, he also did the soundtrack for Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, just throwing that in there as
Ooh,
well.
that's a good tidbit of information.
Nice.
Pretty wicked. So Michael Kamen did the orchestra arrangements for Nothing Else Matters, and they were at an award show, and Michael Kamen was up for something else, and Metallica were there picking up an award for, I think, for Nothing Else Matters, or the Black Album, and he came up to them backstage and was like, "Oh, guys, I did the orchestral arrangements for Nothing Else Matters," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we fucking love that." He goes, "That's really weird because I can't really hear it on the recordings. They turned it right down, but you can
Right.
hear the orchestral arrangement in there on
Yeah.
the Black Album." And he goes, "Yeah, but check this out." And Michael Kamen tells a story in this documentary that they reached into their bag and pulled out this CD which has Nothing Else Matters elevator version, which is James's voice, one guitar, and the orchestra. And they play a little snippet of it on the documentary, and it sounds incredible.
Really?
It's really good.
Right.
And so at that thing, they were saying, "Oh," and Michael Kamen apparently said, "Oh, you should do a whole concert of this." And they're like, "Yeah, really? Like a whole concert? That sounds crazy." And he goes, "Yeah, you should." 8 years later,
Fucking hell.
he gets a phone call from their management saying, "Oh, Metallica want to do that they'll do your symphony orchestra show. And he goes, what? That
do
was
you remember we had that call?
8 years ago.
we had that conversation,
returning
and that was it, and that's how it happened.
Sorry
And
for the delayed response.
yeah.
out of office for 8 years.
So that's how it came about. I love that story. I think
That's
that's
cool.
Really, really
That's
cool.
really. I didn't know that story. That's cool.
How many songs? How many songs were on the album?
21.
20 odd. Imagine being there.
Yeah.
My
well, that's
God,
there
'cause
was,
how
long
SNM2
is
was
it?
announced.
How long?
Yeah.
must
Does it
have-
hit the 3 hour mark?
It must have been a 3 hour show. I've seen when I saw Metallica Reading, it was 3 hours long, so no doubt
Yeah.
this was probably around that sort of length.
Damn. Because it's like, because they announced S&M2,
Right.
and that I was like, oh my god, I considered like taking out a loan so I could get on a plane and go to that and just pay whatever to get a ticket.
Yeah.
But you just know it wouldn't be as good as
I
that
know.
1999 show.
They'd be doing Saint Anger.
Well, I don't know. The set list does look quite
Orchestral.
good.
Don't knock it.
This
It's
is
a
a-
banger.
Hold on,
It's a
this is
banger.
something we could talk about.
I think
quickly.
St. Anger could have its own episode because I've got a lot of opinions about that
I
album.
still think we should do a Metallica episode.
I think we
And
should
we'll go
do.
through it. Album.
Tick, 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 tock.
Have you seen that Fran tick 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 for 10 hours on YouTube?
Yeah. I watch it daily.
So he
my
gets to
alarm.
sleep.
Yeah.
But we could. I mean, an interesting thing is, do we talk about the songs that they omitted?
That literally just ran through my head. The song choice of this album is really interesting because
Because the biggest omission for me is Fade to Black not being on there, whereas that sounds like it should be perfect for an orchestral rendition.
I mean, there's a lot of omissions there, but it's interesting to think about what went into the song choices because, like, how did it work? Did Metallica go to the orchestra and say, these are the 20 odd songs you want to do, go and write your parts for it and send them to us?
I think
or was it a collaborative thing where Metallica went, why don't you look through our discography and think about what songs would work well for you guys?
It's
And
an interesting
do you know
question.
what?
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Because
Like, how did they
something
come up
like
with a set
Fuel
list?
over?
There's got to be a certain.
But is it
number of-
also about when this came out? So this came out in the
That's
late
true.
90s. This is just post load and reload era.
yeah.
There's going to be a certain amount of these are the. We need to
Very
push
true.
these for the label. We need to
100%.
push these because they're fan favorites and it's a live.
So what
album.
years did Load and Reload come out? Like one was 99, right?
Well, one was.
Oh.
There were two of them they were directly before this album.
Okay, so
This was
so
the last-
basically so they're in the promo cycle of those records,
Yeah.
which means that probably
makes
had a saying
sense.
on what the set list was.
This is the last Metallica release to feature Jason Newsted on it.
Ooh,
Ooh.
great fact.
Little tidbit.
Great bass player.
Great bass,
Really
great
good bass
bassist.
player.
Yeah,
Great
great.
bass.
I love Rob. I think he's really, really cool.
He's
But
not-
Jason Newsted era Metallica is.
I think.
I
Well,
think
obvi-
Cliff
Cliff.
Burton.
Well,
Cliff
yeah, I
Burton,
mean-
Metallica, I mean, that's a given, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? But
I mean, it goes without
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. indeed.
What a way to go, eh?
What's your favourite song on S&M?
No Leaf Clover. You know that mine is No Leaf Clover.
I know that, but why? Is that because of the song itself or because of the adaptation for this?
Well, No Leaf Clover was written
purpose?
specially for it. So No Leaf Clover and
Oh, I
Minus
didn't know
Human,
that.
They
Okay.
are only,
I didn't know that.
they were
I didn't know
specially
that.
written. Yeah.
I've always wondered about No Leaf Clover. Why is that not on any record or anything? And that's why.
Yeah, so that was
That's
that
why.
and Minus Human, which I can't actually remember how Minus Human goes, but it's okay. But No Leaf Clover, I honestly think is I don't know, bit of a stretch because I can't think of anything better, but probably my favourite song of all time.
Right.
Which is why I lost my shit so much.
So
at Twickenham.
my defining moment of 2019 is you topless, beer spilling down you
Literally
everywhere.
Guinness all over my
I've
tits.
seen the video.
Oh, yeah.
Guinness all over your knockers.
And the funny thing is as well, everyone in the crowd
Just so unimpressed.
Fuming.
and watching you having semi-nervous breakdown, semi-fucking orgasm over No Leaf Clover being played. Because you were saying in the lead up to that show, they better fucking play No Leaf Clover. Because they were on that tour, this was at Twickenham this summer, they were switching the set list around every
changed
night,
every
weren't
show.
they? So we look at set lists a lot of the time before shows and realise what they're going to play and stuff. But
They played
with this
Dies Eve.
one... Sorry?
They played
They
Dies
didn't
Eve.
play
No,
Dies
they
Eve, the bastards.
Too fast, isn't it?
Too far, way too
Yeah.
fast. But so you didn't know No Leaf Clover was going to be played,
Yeah.
and then when that come on, watching you have a realization that it was about to happen was one of my favourite moments of this year.
Honestly,
Did
the
they-
happiest I've been at a concert.
Did they announce it or did they go into
They
it?
just
They
went
just
into
like.
it, I think, right?
And I was like,
I bet your beer went everywhere.
I was like, I literally grabbed Joe, like, Joe, they're playing it.
I've got some incredible videos from this show, but
Oh,
that
good Lord.
that takes a lot, I think.
Anyway, let's move on from that.
Anyway,
We'll
yeah.
put them on the social media.
No, we will not.
I wonder if Metallica will share this podcast.
They
that we're
absolutely
talking
will
about.
not. We'll
No,
probably say
definitely not.
enough stuff about Lars being.
The best drummer
Of
ever.
all time. Hey, Lars.
Did I mention how great you are on drums?
Okay, so my favorite song from this album, and I think it says a lot about why it's my favorite song because I only listened to this version. Is the
If you,
what?
Go on.
should we say on 3?
Okay, 3, 2,
is like
1. The
Sad but
memory
true.
remains.
Oh.
That's even better. That's different. That's even better.
Oh no, Memory Remains is pretty banging though.
Oh, Memory Remains on this album is fucking
Did
brilliant.
you say Memory Remains and you said Sad but
Sad but
True?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
So, Memory Remains is one of my favorite Metallica songs, but I don't like. I don't dislike, but I don't necessarily dig that much the original recording, which is on Load or Reload.
Reload, yeah.
Reload. That yeah.
Weird little
But-
man one in the bottom.
Yeah, the
But-
great video though.
Animate.
Video's
Yeah, I
cool
love the
video.
video to that. But with the orchestra, with the whole liveness of it, that's by far my favorite on S&M, and it's my go-to when I want to hear a big fucking Metallica song. I go to Memory Remains, S&M, done.
It's hard to pick one, I think.
Puppets
Yeah.
for me. Just like when he was
Really?
like, oh yeah,
Puppets is amazing.
before the solo, I love it.
What I love about Memory Remains is the way he sings Black. It's like, free to believe. Oh, I love it. Yeah. No, Saboteur is really good on this.
I mean, they're all great.
Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu
It's
sounds
just,
wonderful.
It's just a
Call of
great.
Cthulhu is an
Yeah.
incredible piece of music.
Do you reckon they
regardless,
thought when
like-
they because they do Ecstasy of Gold with the orchestra, then they do
Right.
Call of Cthulhu? Do you reckon people turned up and were like, "Fuck, it's just going to be instrumental and it's going to be really boring"?
I don't know.
And then they drop into
Maybe.
March of Puppets and they're like, "Holy fucking shit!" It's like everyone
Beers
going,
everywhere.
beers everywhere, Guinness on your tits. It's going to
Yeah.
be a big night.
Cool.
Thank you all for listening. This has been Pod Exazor episode 3.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.